How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I want to talk about why crypto is moving up and why Bitcoin specifically is up so much right now. We're back into the mid 28,000s. And there are a couple different reasons for that I think you should know about. Now, yesterday I talked about some of the top cryptos that I would be looking at buying now. If you haven't seen that video already, I'll put it on the end screen, but definitely check that video out because I think it explains a little bit more about where the market's at right now and how I'm thinking about the market. But first of all, I think we should just take a look at the market overall today because it is pretty interesting just to see these big moves. You know, sentiment was so down, I think, over the last day or two. A lot of people thinking they were going to fall down dramatically. Binance got sued by the CFTC. I talked about why this is bad for Binance, and a lot of people gave me flack saying that I was just spreading FUD. But I still said that I'm bullish on crypto, and this is one of the reasons why. I mean, FUD and bad news, banking sectors collapsing can't stop crypto. At least it doesn't seem like it has recently, especially since we've started to gain momentum. Now, of course, when the market's falling down, when we're heading into a bear market, all good news doesn't matter. When we're in a bull market or heading into a bull market, it seems like all bad news doesn't matter. Now, that's not necessarily the case. Everything weighs on the market a little bit. But you can see Bitcoin's so resilient, up 5.2% in the last 24 hours. A lot of altcoins up even more than that. XRP's up 16% in the last 24 hours. Cardano up 10.3%. Polygon up 8.1%. So many cryptos doing well here today. Now let's take a look at why this is. And you can see here, we were actually just a few days ago breaking down a little bit. We got down to 26.5, saw some support there, and now we just bounced right back up into the higher end of this range, which is now 28,300. Now, Bitcoin dominance has gone up over the last few hours. You can see from about 47.1% all the way up to 47.7%, now sitting at 47.6%. So Bitcoin dominance is going up a little bit. There have been some liquidations. This was my first thought, was basically that we saw a bunch of liquidations pushing up the market. And that's sort of true. You saw 63 million in the last 24 hours worth of shorts. In the last 12 hours, we saw 71 million, which is probably mostly shorts. But this is still a big move for just $70 million worth liquidated. Keep in mind that the whole market cap has gone up 5.5%. So we've seen about, about 50 or $60 billion worth of market cap. Now, it doesn't take $50 or $60 billion worth of people buying for the market cap to go up, but definitely takes more than $60 million worth of shorts being liquidated. Now, I saw this a few days ago, and again, we'll get to the reasons I think the market's moving up, but I just want to cover a couple of the other things that are kind of related to this. Weekly Crypto Asset Funds Report. This is the weekly report, and we saw a lot of inflows. This is the largest amount that we've seen in nearly a year. We saw about 128 million, most of it going into Bitcoin, 127 million, some going into short Bitcoin. So I always take that as kind of a negative. It's actually betting against crypto instead of betting on crypto. So I almost would flip this. So instead of $31 million, I would say negative $31 million. That being said, there are still people investing, even if they're shorting crypto. So, some people might say, no, you have to keep on the positive side there. But still, a large amount of inflows here after a couple weeks of outflows, which is interesting. People selling at 23 and then rebuying at 28, 27. So this is one of the reasons that you don't necessarily want to be, just selling in and out of the market because it's hard to time. Even, large funds time it wrong. Now, not all of these are just buying and selling whenever they want. It depends on, their own investors when they're buying and selling and trying to redeem and that kind of thing. But let's move on from there. So I think this is one of the major reasons crypto's up right now. We're starting to see the pre-market up. The NASDAQ is up almost 1%, and that definitely pushes up the market. That's not always the best indicator. These aren't always directly correlated, but that is one thing that is pushing up the market in my mind a little bit. We also saw $200 million worth of Bitcoin pulled from exchanges just yesterday. 34,000 have been taken off exchanges in the last week. So we're starting to see people being maybe a little bit less likely to sell. This is probably due to Binance and the FUD around Binance, or I don't want to say FUD, but the news around Binance. So some people are taking crypto off exchanges. That makes them a little bit less likely to sell. But, I think the biggest reason for this is probably just that we're seeing the expectations of rate cuts and rate hikes change every day. So expectations for the first rate cut is now September. That was as of yesterday. Just a few days ago, it was in June. So we're seeing these constant changes and the likelihood of a 25 basis point hike change every single day. And I think that's what's really making the market move between 26,500 up to 28,500. It's just subtle shifts like that. Now, this is kind of crazy because this does not matter over the long term. Of course, in the short term, it's going to influence where people invest their money. It's going to influence how many employees are laid off at different companies. But when we look 10 years down the line, whether Bitcoin makes or breaks, it's not going to be due to the Fed raising to 5% instead of 4.75. That's not going to have any material change, or that's not going to materially change cryptocurrency at all, in my mind, over the long term. So this is an interesting thing, though, because this can give you better buying in prices. If all of a sudden the market prices in another 50%, another 0.5% raise or 50 basis point raise, that can cause the market to fall down and cause you to get a better buying in price over the short term. So I would not be too worried about this. If you're a long-term holder, if you're someone that is worried about the short term, then yeah, you should probably be watching this. But even me, right? I would like Bitcoin to go up over the short term. I would like it to go up over the long term. But it doesn't really change my mood too much when we move up and down. I try not to let it change. There's always a part of you that automatically is excited when it goes up and is a little bit nervous when it goes down, or, a little bit sad or something like that. But you have to remind yourself that if you have any kind of money on the sidelines, that's a good buying in opportunity. That's a time where if you want to add more to your bags, that's the time to be doing it. You don't want to be buying when it goes up. And if you actually like the asset and you want to hold it for the long term and you think it will do well, you probably should think about adding more. Now, of course, that's not financial advice, but that's just my own opinion. Now, speaking of something you want to buy more of when it falls down, I do have a large position in Tesla stock, and I just thought this was a really interesting graphic here. Basically looking at Q4 2021 versus Q1 of 2023. So the peak versus now. Tesla stock price is down 50%. A lot of this could be due to a couple different reasons, whether it is people just worried about the coming recession, or whether it's actually Elon Musk selling a large portion of his shares to buy Twitter. But either way, it doesn't really matter because the price is just down. That's the fact. Quarterly production is up 36%. Kind of crazy. In just a year and a quarter, we saw a 36% increase in quarterly production. We saw earnings per share increase just a small amount. This is the estimate for Q1 right now, so it could be higher than this. Last quarter, I believe it was higher than 86 cents. So a little bit of an increase in earnings per share. Keep in mind that they have been lowering their vehicle price, so they've been able to still continue to scale, even heading into recession. And the fact is they still do sell, decently expensive cars, but they are getting cheaper and they're getting more efficient too. And you can see that here on the free cash flow. Even if their earnings per share isn't increasing that much, the fact is their free cash flow is. They're becoming much more lean, becoming a lot more efficient with their business. $7.6 billion worth of free cash flow. PE has gone from 190 to 52. So this is an interesting metric, down 73%, which is a good thing. And also, if you looked at the price to the free cash flow, it would be even a bigger swing than that because it's down 50% and they've increased the free cash flow 50%. Also, a lot of people are worried about China because it was such a large part of their business a few years ago. China percent of total manufacturing went from over 60% now to 40%. And they're announcing more gigafactories. This is just really interesting. If you liked Tesla over the last 2 or 3 years, you should really like them now. I think Tesla, the company, is safer than they've ever been. And while they have grown a little bit, so some people say that maybe it doesn't have as much growth potential, or we're looking into a recession. The fact is, if you liked it back here, you should, again, really like it now, because it's much cheaper and in a much better position. Has, I think, a better moat. They've had better technology now, better brand recognition, and all that. Keep in mind, they aren't showing some of the negatives about Tesla right now. The fact is that they might have a hard time going into the recession, which I think that's often overblown. I think Tesla's crushing it right now, but keep in mind that these are showing some of the better metrics that you can look at. But overall, I think Tesla is a beast, a growth beast, and now becoming much more, much more attractively priced compared to wherever it's been in the past. Now, let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Thank you so much for watching. I want to keep it kind of short here for you. I don't know how short this video is so far, but I just wanted to cover a couple of the main reasons that the market's up, in case you were wondering. So thank you so much. If you want to see what I'm buying and selling on a daily basis, you can check out the Patreon underneath the video. And in one of my next videos, I'll actually have a special guest. Let me know your thoughts about this underneath the video. Again,